Dae-ho Kim stood in the center of the Great Hall, looking up at hundreds of alien faces staring down at him. The Galactic Council building was made of crystal that caught light from 3 different suns, making everything glow with strange colors. He had never seen anything like it before, but he tried not to show how impressed he was. The human delegation was tiny compared to the others. Just 3 people in a room full of creatures with tentacles, wings, and bodies made of living rock. Dae-ho wore his best uniform with the simple Earth symbol on his chest. Next to him stood Captain Hyejin Park, her hand resting on her weapon out of habit. Dr. Sungmin Lee sat at a small table, taking notes on his tablet and trying to understand the dozens of languages being spoken around them. High Counselor Veltar rose from his seat. He was tall, maybe 3 meters, with purple skin and tentacles instead of arms. When he spoke, his voice was deep and smooth, like he was talking to children. The humans wished to address the council. "How interesting. Please, tell us what brings you so far from your little world." Dae-ho had practiced this speech for weeks. He kept his voice steady and clear. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council, humanity comes before you today with an important message. We have developed new defensive weapons to protect our worlds. Any attempt to invade Earth or our colonies will be met with immediate response from our Railgun defense network." The hall went quiet for a moment. Then something that sounded like laughter began to echo from different parts of the room. The Zephyrian delegates wiggled their tentacles, which Dae-ho had learned meant they found something funny. The crystal beings called Vorthans made tinkling sounds like breaking glass. Even the huge insect-like Keth warriors clicked their jaws together. "Railguns?" Veltar's voice carried amusement. "You mean those primitive weapons that shoot metal projectiles? How charming. Tell me, Ambassador Kim, are you familiar with quantum disruptors? Antimatter warheads? Plasma cannons that can melt entire moons?" "We are aware of your weapons," Dae-ho replied carefully. "But we believe our technology offers certain advantages." More laughter rippled through the hall. A Keth warrior named Kexhan stood up, his black shell gleaming under the crystal lights. "Human, I have personally watched plasma weapons turn asteroids into gas. My ships carry antimatter bombs that can crack planets in half. What could your simple metal bullets possibly do against such power?" Hyejin Park stepped forward, her face red with anger. Dae-ho put a hand on her arm to calm her, but she spoke anyway. "With respect, War Prime Kexhan, perhaps you would like to see a demonstration of our capabilities." The aliens found this even more amusing. Veltar spread his tentacles wide in what looked like a shrug. "A demonstration? How delightful. Yes, I think we would all enjoy watching your primitive weapons in action. There is an old asteroid in the outer system that we use for target practice. Feel free to show us what your railguns can do." "We accept," Dae-ho said quickly, before Hyejin could say something that might cause trouble. "We will need 3 days to prepare." Of course, Veltar waved a tentacle dismissively. "Take all the time you need. We will watch from a safe distance and see what humanity's great weapon can accomplish." He paused and his voice became more serious. "But understand this, Ambassador. Once your demonstration fails, we expect humanity to accept its proper place in the galactic order. There are resources on your worlds that the galaxy needs. Cooperation would be wise." The threat was clear, even wrapped in polite words. Dae-ho nodded once. "We understand completely, High Counselor. After the demonstration, I believe the galaxy's understanding of humanity will change significantly." After the session ended, the 3 humans walked through the crystal corridors toward their ship. Other delegates passed them, still making sounds that could only be laughter. Dr. Sungmin Lee looked up from his tablet, his face worried. "Ambassador," the translation software picked up private conversations. "They're already discussing how to divide up Earth's resources. Some of them are placing bets on whether our railgun will even leave a scratch on that asteroid." Hyejin Park's jaw was tight with anger. "Arrogant bastards. They have no idea what they're about to see." "That's exactly what we want," Dae-ho reminded her. "The more confident they are, the bigger the shock will be. Dr. Lee, make sure you record everything during the demonstration. Every reaction, every word. We'll need proof of how they responded." "Already planning to," Lee replied. "I've also been monitoring their military communications. 12 different species have fleets positioned near human space. They're calling it peacekeeping forces, but we all know what that means. They reached their small ship, a simple design compared to the exotic vessels around them. As they prepared for departure, Dae-ho looked back at the crystal palace floating in space. Soon everyone inside would learn that humanity was not as primitive as they believed. Captain Park sent a secure message to Admiral Choi on Earth. Tell him the demonstration is approved and we have 3 days. Also tell him that after this we're probably going to have visitors whether we want them or not. Understood, sir. Should I mention the fleet positions Dr. Lee detected? Yes, and remind the Admiral that Station 7 is our best shot. If this doesn't work, Daeho didn't finish the sentence. They all knew what would happen if the demonstration failed. Humanity would face invasion within months, and Earth would become just another conquered world. But Daeho had seen the test results from the Railgun network. He had watched the videos of tungsten rods moving at incredible speeds, carrying more energy than nuclear bombs. The aliens thought their shields and armor made them invincible. They were about to learn that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most devastating. As their ship left the crystal world behind, heading back toward human space, Daeho allowed himself a small smile. Let the galaxy laugh now. In 3 days, the laughter would stop forever. The asteroid was huge, roughly the size of Manhattan, floating alone in the dark space beyond Vex Prime's outer planets. Admiral Jiwoo Choi watched it through the main screen in Earth's Sol System Defense Command, millions of miles away. The gray rock looked peaceful, just tumbling slowly through space, unaware that it was about to become the most important target in galactic history. Admiral, all systems are ready, reported Chief Engineer Do-Hyun Nam from his control station. Behind him, dozens of technicians worked at computer screens making final adjustments to Station 7's magnetic field generators. The tungsten projectile is loaded and the acceleration corridor is clear. Jiwoo nodded, keeping her expression calm even though her heart was beating fast. 3 days ago, Ambassador Kim had sent word from the Galactic Council. Today, humanity would either prove itself or doom itself. There was no middle ground. Lieutenant Kwan, confirm the target data one more time, she ordered. Su Jin Kwan looked up from her targeting console, her fingers dancing over holographic displays. Target confirmed, Admiral. Asteroid designated VX-4047. Composition is standard iron-nickel with some carbon deposits. Distance from Station 7 is approximately 400,000 kilometers. Impact point calculated for maximum structural disruption. The alien observer ships were positioned what they thought was a safe distance from the target. Through intercepted communications, the humans knew the aliens expected to see a small explosion, maybe enough to crack off a few chunks of rock. Some of them had brought recording equipment to capture humanity's failure for later entertainment. High Counselor Veltar's voice came over the communication channel, sounding amused and patient. Whenever you are ready, Admiral Choi. We are most curious to see what your primitive projectile weapons can accomplish against solid rock. Jiwoo activated her microphone. Thank you for your patience, High Counselor. Firing in 30 seconds. She switched to internal communications. All stations prepare for demonstration firing. This is not a drill. Station 7. You are authorized to fire on my command. Do-Hyun Nam's team had spent months perfecting this moment. The railgun wasn't like anything the aliens had seen before. Instead of using chemical explosives or energy beams, it used massive magnetic fields to accelerate a simple tungsten rod. The mathematics were beautiful in their simplicity. More speed meant more energy, and more energy meant more destruction. 20 seconds, announced Sujin Kwan. Target remains stable, no drift detected. Magnetic field generators at full power. Through the communication channels, they could hear alien voices discussing the upcoming demonstration. Most of them sounded bored, like adults watching children play with toy weapons. A few made comments about how quickly they could end any human resistance after this failure. 10 seconds, Kwan continued. Projectile chamber sealed. Magnetic corridor clear of all debris. Do-Hyun Nam watched his displays carefully. The energy readings were enormous, enough to power a small city for weeks, all focused on accelerating 2 meters of tungsten to a significant fraction of light speed. All systems green, Admiral. Ready to fire on your command. Jiwoo Choi had been in the military for 20 years. She had seen plasma weapons that could melt through battleship armor. She had watched antimatter bombs turn moons into debris fields. But she had also seen the test results from humanity's railgun program. She knew what was about to happen. Fire, she said quietly. The tungsten rod shot down Station 7's 3-kilometer acceleration corridor in less than a second. Magnetic fields, each one powerful enough to lift a skyscraper, grabbed the projectile and hurled it forward with incredible force. By the time it left the station, it was moving so fast that it was almost invisible. Just a streak of metal carrying the kinetic energy of a nuclear weapon. The alien observers saw nothing at first. Their sensors weren't designed to track such small, fast-moving objects. For 17 seconds, space looked empty and peaceful. Some of them began making comments about human incompetence. Then the asteroid simply disappeared. The tungsten rod hit the rocky mass and released all its kinetic energy in an instant. The temperature at the impact point reached millions of degrees. The asteroid didn't explode like a bomb. It converted directly into an expanding ball of superheated plasma and debris. The shockwave rolled outward at tremendous speed, carrying chunks of rock and clouds of glowing gas. The alien observer ships, positioned at what they thought was a safe distance, suddenly found themselves much too close to the expanding destruction. Emergency alarms began screaming as the shockwave hit their shields. Ships that had weathered battles against antimatter weapons were suddenly retreating, their crews panicking as their vessels shook from the impact. For almost a minute, nobody spoke on the communication channels. The aliens stared at their sensors, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. Where a massive asteroid had been floating peacefully, there was now only an expanding cloud of hot gas and tiny fragments. Finally, High Counselor Veltar's voice came over the radio, and all the amusement was gone. What did you do? Our sensors show complete structural dissolution. How is this possible? Admiral Choi allowed herself a small smile before answering. High Counselor, you asked to see our railgun technology. What you witnessed was a standard defensive projectile, accelerated through magnetic fields to achieve high kinetic velocity. The target was eliminated through the transfer of momentum energy upon impact. But that was just a metal rod, stammered another alien voice. No explosives, no exotic matter, no quantum effects. How can simple kinetic impact create such destruction? Do Hyun Nam leaned over to whisper to his admiral. They really don't understand, do they? They've been so focused on making their weapons more complicated that they forgot about basic physics. Jiwoo nodded, then spoke into her microphone again. Physics is universal, High Counselor. Mass multiplied by velocity equals force. We simply chose to maximize velocity rather than mass. The results speak for themselves. More alien voices joined the conversation, all of them sounding confused and worried. They began asking technical questions about magnetic field strength, projectile composition, and targeting systems. For the first time since humans had made contact with the galaxy, the aliens were asking humanity for information instead of demanding it. Admiral, Sujin Kwan called out, monitoring the alien fleet positions. I'm detecting movement from their observer ships. They're backing away from our position and forming up in defensive formations. Good, Jiwoo replied. Let them think about what they just saw. Dr. Lee, are you getting all this recorded? From his position monitoring communications, Sungmin Lee looked up with a grin. Every word, Admiral. The translation software is having trouble keeping up with all the alien languages, but the general tone is clear. They went from laughing at us to being afraid of us in about 30 seconds. Admiral Choi opened the communication channel one more time. High Counselor Veltar, I trust this demonstration has been educational. Humanity stands ready to defend itself and its colonies with whatever force is necessary. We hope this clarifies our position on any future diplomatic discussions. The silence that followed was the most beautiful sound Jiwoo Choi had ever heard. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began 6 hours after the asteroid demonstration. High Counselor Veltar called representatives from every major species, and the Crystal Hall buzzed with angry voices speaking dozens of languages. The humans' display of power had not impressed the aliens. Instead, it had terrified them. War Prime Kexhan slammed his armored fist on the speaking platform, his black shell gleaming under the lights. Did you all see what those primitives just did? They destroyed an entire asteroid with a single shot from a simple metal projectile. If they can do that to rock, imagine what they could do to our ships, our stations, our worlds. The Vorthan representative, a being of living crystal named Strategist Quindal, flickered with nervous energy. I have run the calculations through our most advanced computers. Based on the energy release we observed, human railgun technology could penetrate any known shield system. Our defensive strategies assume energy weapons or explosive devices. We have no protection against pure kinetic impact at such velocities. Around the hall, other delegates nodded in agreement. The Zephyrians whispered among themselves with their tentacles. The insect-like Keth clicked their jaws nervously. Even the mighty hegemony representatives looked worried. "This is exactly why we must act now," Kexhan continued, his voice growing louder. "These humans have revealed a weapons technology that makes our entire military doctrine obsolete. We cannot allow them to develop it further. In 10 years, 20 years, they could threaten every world in the galaxy." Veltar raised his tentacles for silence. War Prime Kexhan raises valid concerns. However, we must consider our options carefully. The humans demonstrated their weapon as a warning. Perhaps diplomatic solutions are still possible. Diplomacy? Kexhan's mandibles clicked with anger. They just showed us they can destroy anything we build with weapons so simple. A primitive species developed them independently. This is not a time for diplomacy. This is a time for action. Strategist Quindal's crystalline form shifted colors as she processed data. Analysis confirms War Prime Kexhan's assessment. Human technological development follows a different pattern than our own. While we have focused on complexity and exotic physics, they have perfected simple but effective solutions. Their weapons require less energy, fewer resources, and simpler manufacturing. They can build more of them faster and cheaper than our advanced systems. The hall erupted in discussion. Representatives spoke over each other in a dozen different languages. But the message was clear. Humanity had become a threat that needed to be eliminated before it grew stronger. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Tae-Young Seo stood in the Strategic Command Center, watching displays that showed alien fleet movements throughout the galaxy. The demonstration had been a success, but not in the way they had hoped. "Sir," reported Intelligence Officer Wu Jin-han, looking up from his monitoring station, "we're detecting massive troop movements from at least 12 different species. The Keth hegemony has mobilized their entire Third Fleet. The Zephyrian Empire is moving ships from 3 different sectors toward our position. Even the Trade Confederacy is contributing vessels." General Seo frowned as he studied the tactical displays. Red icons representing hostile ships were converging on human space from multiple directions. "How many ships total?" "Current count is over 800 vessels, sir, and more are joining every hour. Dreadnoughts, battlecruisers, carrier groups, support ships. This isn't a police action anymore. They're putting together an invasion fleet." Dr. Min Kyung-yoon rushed into the command center, her lab coat still covered with grease from the Railgun construction facilities. "General, we need more time. Stations 4, 8, and 11 are still undergoing final calibration. We can have them operational in another week, but if the aliens attack now..." "How many stations are fully ready?" SEO asked. 7 are at full operational status. 3 more could fire if absolutely necessary, but their targeting systems aren't properly synchronized yet. 2 are still under construction. General SEO did the math in his head. 7 railgun stations against 800 alien warships. The numbers looked impossible, but he had seen the test results. He knew what those stations could do. "Dr. Yoon, forget the final calibrations. Get all 10 operational stations ready to fire. We'll deal with targeting problems if we survive the initial assault." Captain Jun-Ho Lim's voice crackled over the communication system from his stealth ship operating near the alien fleet. "Command, this is Silent Thunder. I'm monitoring alien communications, and they're not taking any chances this time. They've got antimatter bombs, plasma cannons, quantum disruptors, everything they can carry. But here's the interesting part. They're completely confident they'll win. They're treating this like a cleanup operation." "Explain," General Seo ordered. "Sir, they think our railguns are just big versions of their kinetic weapons. They don't understand the physics involved. Their battle plans assume they can close to normal combat range and overwhelm us with superior numbers and firepower. They have no idea that our effective range is essentially unlimited." Wu Jin-han looked up from his station again. "General, I'm intercepted a communication from High Counselor Veltar to the fleet commanders. He's authorized them to use necessary force to neutralize the human threat, but wants to preserve Earth's resources for later exploitation." The anger in the room was almost physical. These aliens had dismissed humanity as primitive, laughed at their warnings, and now planned to invade and strip Earth of everything valuable. "How long until they reach our outer system?" General Seo asked. "At their current speed, 72 hours, Han replied. "They're maintaining formation, probably planning to drop out of hyperspace together for maximum intimidation effect." Dr. Yoon was already heading back toward the door. "I need to get back to the stations. If we only have 3 days, every minute counts, Doctor." General Seo called after her. "Make sure Station 7 is at peak efficiency. It performed perfectly during the demonstration. We're going to need that kind of precision when the real shooting starts. She nodded grimly. Understood, sir. I'll have the entire network ready. After she left, General Seo studied the tactical display showing the approaching alien fleet. 800 ships crewed by the galaxy's most experienced warriors, armed with weapons that could destroy planets, against 12 railgun stations hidden in asteroids and mining facilities. Sir, Han said quietly. There's something else. The aliens are broadcasting their approach to the entire galaxy. They want everyone to watch humanity's defeat. They think this is going to be a demonstration of superior power. General Seo smiled grimly. They're right about the demonstration part. They're just wrong about who's going to be doing the demonstrating. The next 72 hours would determine whether humanity remained free or became just another conquered species in the galaxy's long history of expansion and domination. But for the first time since the crisis began, General Seo felt optimistic. The aliens had made a critical error. They thought they understood human weapons technology. They were about to learn the difference between understanding and surviving. The alien invasion fleet dropped out of hyperspace like a metal storm made manifest. 800 ships appeared at the edge of the Sol system in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with exotic metals and energy shields shimmering around them like protective bubbles. War Prime Kexhan's flagship, the Eternal Victory, led the massive wedge of vessels toward Earth, its weapons already charged and ready. Admiral Jiwoo Choi watched from the reinforced command bunker buried deep beneath Earth's surface. The main display showed the alien fleet as red dots moving steadily through the outer system, past the orbit of Neptune, heading directly for humanity's homeworld. They're not even trying to hide, observed Captain Hyejin Park, now serving as tactical coordinator. Look at that formation. It's like something out of a military academy textbook. That's exactly what it is, replied Intelligence Officer Woo Jin Han from his monitoring station. I'm intercepted their communications. War Prime Kexhan is treating this as a training exercise for his younger commanders. He wants them to see how a proper invasion is conducted. The alien fleet moved with arrogant confidence, maintaining perfect spacing between ships, broadcasting their approach on all frequencies like they wanted the entire galaxy to witness humanity's defeat. They had no idea they were flying directly into the most sophisticated weapons grid ever constructed. Dr. Min Kyung-yoon's voice came over the communication system from the Railgun Control Center. Admiral, all 12 stations are online and synchronized. Each installation has calculated firing solutions for the entire enemy fleet. Magnetic accelerators are at full power and ready to fire on your command. Confirmed, added Chief Engineer Do-hyun Nam. Station 7 reports optimal performance. All tungsten projectiles loaded and acceleration corridors clear. We have enough ammunition for sustained engagement. Admiral Choi studied the tactical display as the alien fleet passed Saturn, then Jupiter. The aliens had no idea that what looked like routine asteroid mining operations were actually humanity's first line of defense. Each station was hidden in plain sight, camouflaged as civilian infrastructure. Target priorities? Asked Captain Park. Command ships first, Choi replied. Take out their leadership and coordination, then focus on the largest vessels. We want to hit them hard and fast before they realize what's happening. Lieutenant Sujin Kwon looked up from her targeting console. Admiral, the alien fleet will be in optimal range in approximately 10 minutes. Station 3 has the best firing angle on their flagship. The waiting was the hardest part. The humans could have opened fire when the aliens first appeared, but Admiral Choi wanted them closer. At point-blank range for a railgun, there would be no chance of missing, no time for the aliens to react or escape. War Prime Kexhan's voice boomed over the open communication channel, speaking to his entire fleet. Warriors of the hegemony, today we remove a threat to galactic stability. These primitive humans thought they could challenge our authority with their simple weapons. Watch and learn how quickly superior technology defeats barbarian desperation. Arrogant bastard, muttered Captain Park. He has no idea what's about to hit him. The alien fleet reached Mars orbit, still maintaining perfect formation. Their energy shields glowed brighter as they prepared for combat, expecting to face human ships in traditional space battle. Instead, they found empty space and silence. Where are their defense fleets? Admiral Choi heard one alien commander ask over the intercepted communications. Sensors show no ships, no orbital platforms, nothing. They're hiding behind their planet like cowards, Kexhan replied. Close, to engagement range and prepare to demonstrate the price of defying galactic authority. Admiral, Dr. Yoon reported. Station 3 is ready to fire. Target locked on the Eternal Victory. 1 shot, 1 kill. Admiral Choi took a deep breath. This moment would determine the future of humanity. Either they would prove themselves to the galaxy, or Earth would become another conquered world. All stations you are authorized to engage. Station 3 fire at will. The first railgun shot of the war began with Station 3 revealing its true nature. Camouflaged panels retracted, exposing the massive magnetic acceleration corridor, hidden inside what the aliens had thought was just another mining asteroid. Energy readings spiked as powerful magnetic fields activated. By the time Keth sensors detected the energy buildup, it was already too late. The tungsten projectile was accelerating down the 3-kilometer corridor at incredible speed, gaining velocity with each magnetic field it passed through. War Prime Kexhan had 17 seconds to live. The projectile covered the distance between Station 3 and the Eternal Victory faster than alien sensors could track. The ship's energy shields, designed to deflect plasma beams and absorb explosive impacts, offered no protection against pure kinetic force, moving at a significant fraction of light speed. The tungsten rod punched through the flagship's shields like they weren't there, passed completely through the armored hull, and continued on to disable 2 more ships in the formation behind it. The Eternal Victory began venting atmosphere and debris into space, its command center completely destroyed. War Prime Kexhan died without understanding what had killed him. Station 7 fire, Admiral Choi ordered calmly. The second shot targeted a Zephyrian battle cruiser, one of their newest and most heavily armored vessels. The result was identical. The railgun projectile ignored the ship's defenses completely, tearing through armor and hull like paper. Station 1 fire, Station 12 fire. Now the aliens began to panic. Their perfect formation broke apart as ships tried to scatter, but they were flying into a 3-dimensional crossfire. Lieutenant Kwan and her fellow targeting specialists had turned space combat into a mathematical equation. Identify target, calculate trajectory, fire projectile, confirm kill. What's happening? Screamed an alien commander over the radio. Our ships are dying and we can't even see what's shooting at us. Kinetic weapons, another voice replied, filled with terror. They're using kinetic weapons from extreme range. Our shields can't stop them. The human railgun network operated with ruthless efficiency. Each station fired independently, but their targeting was coordinated to avoid wasting shots. Large ships died first. Command vessels received priority, but every shot found a target. Captain Park monitored the tactical display as red icons began disappearing. Admiral, they're trying to retreat. Some ships are breaking off and heading back toward the outer system. Let them go, Choi replied. We want survivors to carry word back to the galaxy, but make sure they understand the lesson. Station 4 targeted a fleeing dreadnought, the shot catching it just as it tried to escape. The massive ship broke apart, sending a clear message. There was no safe distance from human weapons. The engagement lasted 6 hours, though most of the destruction happened in the first 30 minutes. The aliens had expected to fight ships at close range with energy weapons and explosive missiles. Instead, they faced invisible enemies shooting unstoppable projectiles from impossible distances. Admiral, Lieutenant Kwan reported, enemy fleet strength is down to less than 50 vessels. Most are damaged and trying to escape to hyperspace. Station commanders are requesting permission to finish them off. Admiral Choi considered the request. They could destroy the entire fleet, leave no survivors at all, but that would send the wrong message to the galaxy. Fear was useful, but absolute terror might unite every species against humanity. Negative. Let them go. We've made our point. As the surviving alien ships limped away toward the outer system, Admiral Choi opened a communication channel that would reach every world in the galaxy. Her voice was calm and professional, but the message was unmistakable. This is Admiral Ji-Woo Choi of the Terran Defense Force. Approximately 6 hours ago, a fleet of 800 vessels entered our system with hostile intent. Fewer than 50 ships are now capable of leaving. We warned the galaxy that any attack on Earth or human colonies would be met with immediate response from our Railgun defense network. This warning remains in effect. Any further hostile action will result in similar consequences. The silence that followed her broadcast was absolute. For the first time in galactic history, a primitive species had destroyed an invasion fleet without losing a single ship of their own. The war had lasted 1 day. Humanity had won before the galaxy even realized it had begun. The surviving ships from the invasion fleet arrived back at Galactic Council space 3 days after the battle. They came not as conquering heroes, but as broken remnants carrying impossible reports of humanity's defensive capabilities. Fewer than 50 vessels out of 800 had escaped Earth's railgun network, and most of those were heavily damaged. High Counselor Veltar stood in the emergency session hall, his purple tentacles trembling as he read the tactical reports. The numbers seemed impossible. War Prime Kexan was dead, his flagship destroyed by a single projectile. Strategist Quindal's probability matrices had been completely wrong. The Eternal Victory, armed with antimatter weapons and protected by energy shields that could deflect planet-killer beams, had been eliminated by what the humans called a simple tungsten rod. "This cannot be accurate," Veltar said, his voice lacking its usual confidence. 800 ships, the finest vessels in the galaxy, destroyed by primitive kinetic weapons? Commander Zorthak of the Hegemony, one of the few survivors, stood at attention despite his injuries. His black shell was cracked and scarred from his ship's near destruction. "High Counselor, I was there. I watched the Eternal Victory die in seconds. Our sensors couldn't even track the projectiles until impact. They hit us from distances we thought were impossible for kinetic weapons." "But how?" demanded Fleet Admiral Yilnara of the Trade Confederacy. "Kinetic weapons require enormous energy to achieve destructive velocities. Their power systems should have been detectable across the entire system." Dr. Sungmin Lee stepped forward from the small human delegation. The same 3 people who had delivered the original warning now stood before a very different audience. The laughter was gone, replaced by fear and desperate confusion. "Honorable Council members," Lee began, his voice steady despite the hostile stares. "You made the same assumption that has limited your weapons development for centuries. You assumed that more energy always means better weapons. Humanity took a different approach." He activated a holographic display showing the basic principles of railgun technology. "Our magnetic acceleration system uses multiple staged fields to gradually increase projectile velocity. Instead of one massive energy burst, we use sustained acceleration over a longer distance. The result is higher speeds with lower total energy requirements." "Impossible," whispered strategist Quindal, her crystalline form flickering with nervous energy. "Our computers show that such velocities would require planet-sized power plants." "Your computers assume brute force methods," Ambassador Daeho Kim replied calmly. "Humanity learned efficiency through necessity. We couldn't build antimatter reactors or quantum generators, so we found ways to make simple physics more effective." The hall erupted in angry voices speaking dozens of languages. Some delegates demanded immediate retaliation. Others called for diplomatic solutions. A few suggested retreating to distant parts of the galaxy until they could develop countermeasures. Captain Haijin Park stepped forward, and the room gradually fell silent. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who had just watched humanity's enemies flee in terror. "The demonstration you witnessed was conducted with outdated equipment from our initial defense network. Our current installations are significantly more advanced. This was a carefully calculated lie, but the aliens had no way to verify it. The fear in their eyes showed that they believed every word. Furthermore," Park continued, "our railgun stations are not limited to defensive operations. Dr. Yoon, please explain humanity's current strategic capabilities." Dr. Min Kyung Yoon activated another holographic display, showing star charts with human colonies marked in blue and alien homeworlds in red. "Our latest railgun installations are mobile and can be positioned anywhere in space. Current targeting systems can achieve accuracy across interstellar distances. A tungsten projectile accelerated to near light speed could reach any world in this sector within hours." The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't just defending Earth anymore. They were threatening every major world in the galaxy with weapons that could crack planetary crusts and turn atmospheres into superheated plasma. You're talking about genocide, Veltar said, his voice barely above a whisper. We're talking about deterrence, Ambassador Kim replied firmly. Humanity has no desire to conquer other worlds or eliminate other species. We want to be left alone to develop in peace. However, any attempt to invade human territory will result in immediate retaliation against the attacking species' homeworlds. General Tae-young, CO's image appeared on the communication screen from Earth's Strategic Command. His expression was grim but determined. The Galactic Council chose to respond to our peaceful warning with military invasion. That invasion has been repelled with minimal human casualties. We hope this demonstrates the futility of aggressive action against human space. What are your terms? Asked Commander Zorthak, the military pragmatist recognizing reality faster than the politicians. Simple, Kim replied. Formal recognition of human territorial sovereignty. Establishment of trade agreements based on mutual benefit rather than exploitation. Immediate withdrawal of all military forces from human space. In return, humanity will share certain non-weapons technologies that may benefit all species. The offer was generous, especially considering humanity's overwhelming military advantage. Several delegates began whispering among themselves, calculating the benefits of cooperation versus continued resistance. And if we refuse? Veltar asked. Captain Park smiled coldly. High Counselor, you sent 800 warships to conquer a single human world. We destroyed 750 of them without losing a single vessel. What do you think would happen if we decided that the galaxy would be safer without certain aggressive species? The threat was clear and terrifying. Humanity had demonstrated the ability to eliminate entire fleets with ease. If they chose to target planets instead of ships, entire civilizations could be wiped out before they could respond. 3 months later, Captain Junho Lim stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel, New Seoul, watching unknown stars appear on his navigation display. Behind him, trade requests and diplomatic messages flooded human communication networks. Species that had once viewed humanity as primitive now competed for human attention, human technology, human protection. The Zephyrian Empire offered exclusive mining rights to rare mineral worlds in exchange for railgun defense systems. The Trade Confederacy proposed joint ventures to develop new technologies. Even the proud Keth hegemony requested human military advisors to help modernize their fleets. Captain, reported his communications officer, we're receiving another request for defensive alliance. This time it's from the Outer Rim colonies. They're offering to become human protectorates if we'll defend them against hegemony expansion. Lim smiled as he watched the stars ahead. Humanity had gone from being dismissed as primitive to being courted as the galaxy's dominant military power in less than 6 months. The transformation was remarkable but also dangerous. Power attracted enemies as well as friends. Reply that we'll consider their request, he ordered, but remind them that human protection comes with expectations of peaceful behavior and respect for other species' rights. The galaxy wasn't laughing at humanity anymore. Some species feared them, others respected them, and a few genuinely liked them. But none of them would ever again make the mistake of thinking that humans were primitive or weak. Admiral Ji Woo Choi's message to the galaxy had been simple. Humanity wanted peace, but was prepared for war. The aliens had tested that resolve and learned that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most devastating. The age of galactic expansion through conquest was over. The age of human deterrence had begun.